If Jiang Qinglian, the world's first female sect leader who is famous in the 9 continents, wants to ascend to immortality, the conditions for the ascension test given by the Heavenly Dao are: have an unbreakable love affair with Ning Qing, the miscellaneous disciple of our sect. Dog Tiandao. Are you fucking me? That day, this unparalleled female sect leader, in front of thousands of disciples, lost her composure and cursed loudly Ning Qing. This is a world where all the cultivators in the world are trapped by the trials of the heavenly way, until an unknown servant disciple Ning Qing unexpectedly discovers that he seems to be able to tamper with the conditions of others' trials of the heavenly way. Keywords of the novel. Lord wants me to confess without a pop-up window. Lord wants me to confess. Download the complete TXT collection, Lord wants me to confess. Read the latest chapter. Chapter 1. Love without breaking up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Love without breaking up. Ning Qingduan sat on a rudimentary futon, and after being fully prepared, he gathered his energy in the elixir field, ready to break through the layer of qi cultivation. The spiritual energy of one's own destiny that has been gathered in Ning Qing's dantian for many years, as long as it's for any other cultivator, even if their qualifications are inferior today, they can easily break through the level of qi cultivation. It can be switched to Ning Qing. No matter how much you try to lift your qi and break through the existing realm, the spiritual energy of your own life in the dantian feels like being trapped in an iron prison, and there is no way to break through it in every collision. Ning Qing understands that if she continues to forcefully lift her qi now, not to mention breaking through the level of qi cultivation, her elixir field may be destroyed by the rampaging of her own spiritual energy. So Ning Qing chose to finish work and pressed her own spiritual energy back into her dantian, then slowly opened her eyes. After opening her eyes, Ning Qing angrily flipped the wooden table in front of her and shouted at the ceiling. "Gone your mother! Thief, my goodness!" Ning Qing's scolding comes from the bottom of his heart. After careful calculation, he has been in this world for 18 years as a collateral lineage of the Dali dynasty. Although his family is in decline, Ning Qing's background and qualifications are much better than those from a small mountain village at the beginning. Ning Qing admits that her spiritual root qualifications are poor, but the problem is that this is just a layer of qi cultivation. One layer. The path of cultivating immortals has just begun, but any cultivator with a slight spiritual root can easily break through the layer of qi cultivation after 18 years of cultivation. And Ning Qing. It has been a full 10 years since she started practicing immortality at the age of 8. Ning Qing was stuck in the qi cultivation layer for a full 10 years like this. In Ning Qing's record, he attempted to break through a total of 1374 times in the past 10 years, with an average of breaking through one layer of qi every 3 days, but without exception, all attempts failed. The most frustrating thing is that the reason for Ning Qing's breakthrough failure is not because of herself, but because of the limitations set by the thief, or in other words, the heavenly way trial. In this world, every cultivator who sets foot on the path of cultivating immortals must undergo numerous trials of the heavenly way. Starting from the first level of qi cultivation, the Heavenly Dao will assign different trial contents to each cultivator. These trials are accompanied by long-term trials throughout the cultivator's life, as well as breakthrough trials that the cultivator currently needs to complete. The long-term trial of the former will always be rewarded and given opportunities by the Heavenly Dao as long as it is done continuously, but it is extremely rare. There are few examples in these 9 states of heaven and earth, and whether it exists or not is a question. It is a legendary existence. The latter is a breakthrough test that every cultivator will encounter at every level of cultivation. Only by completing these test contents can these cultivators break through the current level. At the same time, the heavenly way will also give cultivators some special rewards. The problem lies in the other Taoist friends. Ning Qing knows who practice qi, and the trials set by the Heavenly Dao for them are mostly doing a good thing, practicing horse walking for a month and a day, and logging bamboo in the mountains and forests every day for 10 days. This simple trial can be easily completed by even a 10-year-old child with patience. And what about Ning Qing? With a wave of her hand, Ning Qing opened the content of her Heavenly Way trial, and a line of pale golden text appeared in front of her. Please the current leader of the Qingxian sword sect, Jiang Qinglian, until they become a Taoist couple. After finishing the first trial of the cultivation path set by the Heavenly Dao without missing a word, Ning Qing silently arranged the table in front of her and flipped it over again. Where's the pit father? This is. Thief, if you don't want me to cultivate immortality, just say it. Ning Qing has really been so angry by the Heavenly Dao that she needs to cover her stomach to relieve her stomach pain. The Qingxian sword sect is the first sword sect within the territory of the Dali dynasty, and it is not only the Dali dynasty but also the world's first sword sect. A year ago, Ning Qing spent almost all his money to reluctantly enter the gate of the Qingxian sword sect and become a named miscellaneous disciple. Even if you join the Qingxian sword sect, the Heavenly Dao names the Dao and wants to make your own name. However, the current leader of the Qingxian sword sect, known as the world's #1 slashing dust sword, is Jiang Qinglian. This master is a powerful cultivator of the 9 continents, who has been in Mahayana for many years and has even crossed thunder robbery 3 times. Ning Qing, this pitiful and weak registered disciple of a miscellaneous worker, let alone this female sect leader. Since Ning Qing joined the sect for a year, she has not even had the opportunity to meet her. Ning Qing wants to break through the layer of qi refining. The trial set by the dog Heavenly Dao for Ning Qing is not only about soaking this unparalleled female sect leader, but also about becoming a Taoist couple with her to end it. I might as well just commit suicide here and reincarnate to switch accounts and restart. Ning Qing really wants to say to this thief, I'm not playing anymore. But Ning Qing also has family concerns in this world, so she can't let go and switch accounts to start over. Unfortunately, in the vast land of China where cultivators are everywhere today, even a small and refined person like Ning Qing will be slaughtered by others when they walk there. Not willing to accept it. Ning Qing is really unwilling. If her qualifications and efforts are not enough, she can't break through the level of qi cultivation. But now I'm stuck in this damn Heavenly Way trial. This feeling of suffocation was so unbearable that Ning Qing couldn't sleep every night, and the first thing she woke up was cursing at this thief. Perhaps Tiandao was finally moved by Ning Qing's persistent efforts. As Ning Qing reorganized the overturned desktop in front of her, a line of golden text suddenly appeared in front of her. Congratulations to you, Taoist. You have reached the age of 18 and are now an adult. I would like to present you with an opportunity to modify the Heavenly Way trial. What thing? Modify the opportunity of the Heavenly Way trial. Ning Qing sat up straight when she saw this reward. During these 18 years, Ning Qing has known many fellow disciples of the same class, as well as a few during the foundation building period. However, he has never heard of the opportunity given by the Heavenly Way to modify the Heavenly Way trial. You should know that once the Heavenly Way trial is completed in this world, even the highest of the Mahayana period cannot disobey the mandate of the Heavenly Way. You must honestly complete the Heavenly Way trial in order to have the opportunity to overcome the thunder calamity and ascend to immortality. But Ning Qing didn't think too much. The first thing she thought about was that she could finally simplify her father's Heavenly Way trial. How could a young cultivator during the Qi cultivation period be allowed to participate in a divine and powerful Heavenly Dao trial shortly after leaving the mountain? This cannot be said to be a death, and it is a fantasy, pure daydream. Change. It must be made simpler. Ning Qing pondered whether to change her Heavenly Way trial to sleep or eat a full meal. Ning Qing suddenly discovered a very scary and terrifying thing, that is the opportunity he just obtained to modify the Heavenly Way trial, which can not only be used on himself, but also on others. Hiss. Ha. Ning Qing took a cold breath and then flicked her fingertips, realizing that the name Jiang Qinglian in her original Heavenly Way trial, which was meant to please the current leader of the Qingxian sword sect, Jiang Qinglian, seemed to be clickable. After Ning Qing clicked on it, a bunch of golden Tiandao trial entries appeared in front of Ning Qing. These are all the numerous trials set by the Heavenly Dao that this unparalleled female sect leader has completed on her millennium-long path of cultivation. During the Qi cultivation period, 10 green bamboo trees are cut down daily in the Xianming bamboo forest for a month. In the period of the revival of Yuanying, he went down to the sea to kill devouring dragons and restore peace to the southwest fishing village. In the Mahayana period, the founding of the sect extended the fragrance of the Qingxian sword vein for more than 7 generations. There are also heroic trials of the heavenly way, such as killing the poisonous and mysterious witchcraft of the southern Wu kingdom, and eliminating the ghostly mist and miasma that ravages the land of China. Jiang Qinglian has gone through countless trials and tribulations over thousands of years, breaking through countless obstacles set by the heavenly way, and finally achieving the world's most powerful sword sect, which is now in the divine realm. But this unparalleled female sect leader, after the 4th failed attempt to cross the tribulation the day before yesterday, is suffering heavy injuries and undergoing closed-door recuperation. Now all the disciples of the Qingxian sword sect are preaching that the sect leader has not yet completed the final heavenly way trial, which has led to several failed attempts to cross the tribulations and ascend to immortality. So now all the elders of the Qingxian sword sect have gathered before the sect leader closes the mountain gate, intending to usurp the heavenly mystery with the sect leader and spy on whether it is really as speculated by the outside world. This sect leader has yet to complete the final heavenly Dao test. Now it's placed here with Ning Qing. Ning Qing can be certain that the speculations of the entire Qingxian sword sect are true. This unparalleled female sect leader really still has the final heavenly way trial to complete. But when Ning Qing peeked into the final trial set by the heavenly way for this female sect leader, she felt a completely cold sensation in her hands and feet. This final test is slaughter all the 750,000 people of Zhenzhou City, completely sever ties with the mortal world. Zhenzhou City. This is exactly the city where Ning Qing's family lives in the secular world. Seeing this, Ning Qing couldn't help but curse again, Tiandao. What should we do? Ning Qing was caught in hesitation once the Qingxian sword sect and the female sect leader have peeked up and down into this final test of the heavenly way, as the first legitimate sect of the Dali dynasty. Will they really take action? Ning Qing dare not gamble. Ning Qing dare not gamble with the lives of mortals on these. The practitioners who transcend the mortal world are obsessed with soaring. Change must be modified. Ning Qing didn't care about changing her heavenly way trial to a simple condition like sleeping or eating that could be broken through while lying down, but instead, the strokes were placed on the final test of the heavenly way before the female patriarch, the highest power of the divine realm, ascended. So what is it changed to? Ning Qing pondered for a moment, then glanced at her damn heavenly way trial of pleasing the female sect leader until she became a Taoist couple. Ning Qing gritted her teeth in the end and waved her hand. Before the female sect leader, whose strength surpassed that of all beings in the divine realm, ascended, the final heavenly way trial was changed to have a romantic relationship with Ning Qing, a miscellaneous disciple of the Qingxian sword sect. This kind of modification shouldn't be killed directly, right? Ning Qing, out of a sense of unease, added the 3 words, "Don't break up." Finally, if the female leader of the world's top sword sect wants to ascend to immortality, the conditions given to her by the heavenly Dao have become: have an unbreakable love affair with Ning Qing, a miscellaneous disciple of the Qingxian sword sect. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Heavenly Way, you did well. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Heavenly Way, you did well. Qingxian sword sect's core hinterland, Zhenling Peak. At this moment, the 13 elders of the Qingxian sword sect have gathered here, using the sect leader's secluded secret room in the Zhenling Peak as the eye of the formation, and together they have set up the sky-watching formation. The function of this formation is just like its name. It is precisely used to explore the mysteries of the sky. The first 3 failed attempts at crossing the tribulation, and the leader of the Qinglian sword sect can still be attributed to her inadequate preparation and failure to resist the baptism of the heavenly tribulation. So she devoted herself to practicing day and night to improve her own strength, and at the same time, the entire Qinglian sword sect was also making every effort to collect heavenly and earthly treasures for this sect leader to cross the calamity. After everything was prepared more properly and perfectly than the first 3 times, the painful failure of the 4th crossing of the tribulation made this unparalleled leader realize that what was blocking her ascension was not her lack of cultivation, nor was it a tribulation that could destroy the heavens and the earth, but a shackle from the Heavenly Dao. She has gone through thousands of years in the mortal world and countless tests of the heavenly way. Perhaps there is still the final test of the heavenly way that has not been completed yet. Only by completing the last test set by the heavenly way for her can she achieve complete merit and become an immortal in the mortal world. But the problem is, she couldn't pry into the detailed content of this last heavenly way trial. If it weren't for her vague grasp of the laws of heaven and earth after the 4th calamity, she might not have felt the final test set by the heavenly way on her. But now that Jiang Qinglian has been confirmed, it means that he can rely on the method of peeping into the sky to forcefully break through the mystery of this final heavenly way trial. Come on. Jiang Qinglian felt the vast spiritual energy infused by the 13 elders of the Qinglian sword sect, as if the East China Sea had entered the river, in the eyes of the peeping sky formation. With this spiritual energy, she activated a sword intent that could pierce through the laws of heaven and earth, ready to tear open this day to see what the shackles of the heavenly way were really like on her body. The sky-watching formation was taken to its extreme by Jiang Qinglian, and the sky around the entire Jinling Peak suddenly changed dramatically. Dark clouds shrouded the sky, and the rolling heavenly power accompanied by thunder descended upon the sky above the Jinling Peak, but Jiang Qinglian was fearless. She mobilized the intention of the slashing dust sword within the divine sea and directly reached out to the sky with a sudden finger. Break it. Under a resounding roar from the sky, the ultimate sword intent burst out from Jiang Qinglian's fingertips, directly penetrating the sky. It shook open the layers of dark clouds that enveloped the Jinling Peak, forming a vortex. The sunlight scattered on the Jinling Peak along the opened gap, and also fell on Jiang Qinglian's cold and stern face, illuminating the lotus holy seal in the female sect leader's eyebrows. When Jiang Qinglian saw a golden text that only she could read clearly, she knew that her joint mission of peeping into the sky set by the entire sect had been successful. The last shackle set by the heavenly way for herself has finally appeared before her eyes. Congratulations to Lord for discovering the mystery. The 13 elders of the Qinglian sword sect came forward to congratulate Jiang Qinglian. Most of these 13 elders were female cultivators, and the Qinglian sword sect itself was a sect with a majority of female cultivators. Jiang Qinglian is the first female cultivator in Dali and even in Shenzhou. Most of them come from afar to join the Qinglian sword sect because of their admiration for this master. After experiencing 4 failed attempts at ascent, this unparalleled leader has finally discovered the ultimate mystery, and the entire Qinglian sword sect has entered a state of high morale due to this. Master, dare you ask what is the last test left by the heavenly way? It must be another great achievement to save the lives of the people. I see that a while ago, southern Xinjiang was reborn with malaria. The heavenly way should have wanted the Lord to save the people's lives before ascending, thus creating a legend in the human world. Perhaps it's about conquering demons and pacifying the world. The feud between the sect leader and the southern flame demon lord is still unresolved. I guess the last instruction from the Heavenly Dao is to let the sect leader completely resolve this feud. The 13 elders of the town clan seem to have transformed back into a young girl in front of their lord Jiang Qinglian, whispering about the final test set by the heavenly way for their lord. Is there any difference in the content of the trial? Jiang Qinglian responded calmly, now in this land of China. There is nothing that this seat cannot do. This simple yet confident statement, almost domineering, was spoken from the leader's large population without any sense of discord. Your Highness, what you said is absolutely true. Other elders also sighed and said. Whether it is to eliminate the world's miasma and save the people, or to eliminate all the demons in the world and return the world to a bright future. For this leader of the world's first sword sect who gallops across the land of China, it is an easy task. So what is the last test set by the heavenly way for her? Is it to save the people of the world, or to sweep away evil spirits and slay evil spirits? To put it more colloquially, where are we going? Save who? Kill who? Regardless of which one, she has completed countless times in her cultivation career. As she just said, no matter what kind of trials the heavenly way has set for her, there is nothing she cannot do or anyone she cannot kill in the current land of China. Under this absolute confidence based on strength, Jiang Qinglian saw clearly the detailed content of the final trial set by the Heavenly Dao for her. Have an unbreakable love affair with Ning Qing, the miscellaneous disciple of the Qingxian sword sect. What kind of thing? At this moment, the head of this master, who has lived for thousands of years and read thousands of stories, experienced a few seconds of downtime. She slightly tilted her forehead and repeatedly confirmed that she had not read the golden text in front of her that constituted the content of the Heavenly Way trial. For a moment, Jiang Qinglian suspected that the text in front of her was not Chinese characters from the Dali tribe, but rather witchcraft and eerie characters from southern Xinjiang. No matter how the female patriarch compares, the content of this final Heavenly Way trial is always dating, a love that never breaks up. At this moment, Jiang Qinglian was lost. For thousands of years since she practiced Taoism, due to her practice of slaying the mortal world and eliminating human desires, she has never been closer to any male gender in this millennium. Even if there are many male cultivators in the world who are of the same level as her, they all have a fondness for her. Jiang Qinglian refused, citing, "I want to become an immortal, but men are very troublesome." Now the road to becoming an immortal is right in front of her. The last trial given to her by the Heavenly Way is to let her go into a relationship. Or with an unknown miscellaneous disciple. Why don't you let me slaughter all the demons in the world? At least Jiang Qinglian is familiar with killing demons, and it can also make the reputation of Qingxian sword sect once again famous throughout the world. And now what about this Heavenly Way trial? Is it to inform the world that the female leader of the Qingxian sword sect is an old nun who loves to eat tender grass, and thus spread it to be ridiculed by the world? Dog Tiandao, are you fucking me? Jiang Qinglian's face turned gloomy and uncertain, and the 13 elders of the town sect around saw the leader's terrifying expression, and they all moved forward with worried questions. Master, is this final Heavenly Way trial too rigorous? No matter how harsh it may be, Master, you don't need to be afraid. The entire Qingxian sword sect is at your command. As long as we can complete this last test of the Heavenly Way, we are willing to go through fire and water for Master. Yeah. Master. No matter what the Heavenly Way trial, I will do my best to help. Jiang Qinglian looked at the 13 elders of the Zhenzong sect with their passionate and resolute expressions, and her expression of discomfort and gloom became even more apparent. How can you do your best to help with this matter of soaking men? Did the best friend group gather together to come up with a plan? If this is done, there is a high probability that it will become more troublesome and chaotic. Of course, Jiang Qinglian did not think so. She only knew that this final test of the Heavenly Way must not be disclosed to outsiders, otherwise it would definitely ruin her lifelong reputation. You should step down now and focus your energy on the upcoming spiritual vessel conflict. This seat needs to rest for a period of time to repair internal injuries. Jiang Qinglian waved her long sleeves wearily, and the 13 elders of the Zhenzong sect didn't say much. They all bowed to the master and left the Zhenlingfeng with auspicious clouds or flying swords. After the elders left, Jiang Qinglian retreated to her secret room where she was cultivating and healing. After sitting on her carefully arranged gathering array, she softly called out, "Jior. Master, I am here." A young girl dressed in a dazzling yellow chilua single robe with colorful feathers tattooed on her ears appeared in front of Jiang Qinglian. She is the sword spirit of Jiang Qinglian, who has accompanied her through the training and fighting of the spiritual sword, slashing dust sword, since she embarked on the path of cultivation. The real name of Jianling is Mingqiu, and Jiang Qinglian affectionately calls it Jior. This Mingqiu was originally the descendant of the nine-colored feather phoenix, the most auspicious deity in China. After being saved by Jiang Qinglian in an accident, his divine soul stayed in the slashing dust sword, and according to calculations, he accompanied Jiang Qinglian for nearly 600 to 700 years. It can be said that the young girl in front of me is the most trusted and intimate person of this master. The last trial given to me by the Heavenly Dao is like this. Do you know any solution, Jior? Jiang Qinglian informed her sword spirit of the content of the last Heavenly Way trial and wanted her to provide some advice for her. The last test of the Heavenly Way for the Master is actually a matter of love. No wonder your expression is so ugly, Master. This Heavenly Way is really difficult. After reading the words written by Jiang Qinglian in mid-air, Mingqiu let out a soft sigh, but after the sigh, she drifted into mid-air and gently rested her chin, looking at her master. But in Jior's opinion, it is extremely simple and easy for the master to complete this Heavenly Way trial. Really? Although I haven't interacted with worldly love affairs for thousands of years, to the point where I almost don't recognize these two words, love matters are not difficult for me. The key is the restriction of not breaking up. What really troubles Jiang Qinglian is not love, but a love that never breaks up. I am a person who wants to become an immortal. How could I have time to engage in such love affairs with this mortal? Master, don't panic. Let's listen to Jior's slow analysis. There are always opportunities to explore in this Heavenly Dao trial. Mingqiu said with a sly smile on her face. In Jior's opinion, as long as you can make this young friend Ning Qing confess his love to you, that is, express his love, then this Heavenly Dao trial will be completed, and there is no limit to not breaking up. Why is it that as long as he confesses to this seat, this trial is considered completed? Jior, please explain it in detail. Jiang Qinglian quickly asked. P.S. Thank you, Tang Sumo, for your reward. Also, this book will be updated at midnight every day before it is listed. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Just confession can fly up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 4. Being strong without confessing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Being strong without confessing. Mom. An egg. Ning Qing raised an axe in his hand and swung it towards the big tree in front of him. After thoroughly chopping it down, he finally chopped it down to the size of wood used for fire. After a busy meal, the morning passed like this. Why did it take so long to cut down 3 trees? A disciple of the Qingxian sword sect came to this logging field and saw that he was exhausted from holding an axe. He frowned and asked in a questioning tone. Our senior brother's recent alchemy is not enough to rely solely on this amount of wood. Then you can chop it yourself. Ning Qing actually wanted to answer that way, but she still held back because he is just a poor miscellaneous disciple. He has no right to refute the orders of these external disciples. Moreover, even if Ning Qing dares, he cannot defeat this group of external disciples who have an average qi cultivation level of 7 or 8, and can even reach the external disciples who are building foundations. So if Ning Qing wants to stay in the Qingxian sword sect, she can only silently listen to these people's orders, go up the mountain to chop wood, cook water, and cook. Although Ning Qing died suddenly due to overtime in his previous life, he never expected to come here to work as a laborer. If I could break through, I would be like this bird. I'll chop off all the speeches for you. Ning Qing thought fiercely, but at this stage, he can only work as a lumberjack honestly. He has been busy like this until the afternoon, and finally he can return to the dormitory where his miscellaneous disciples live to rest. When Ning Qing first came to the Qinglian sword sect, there were originally 6 miscellaneous disciples living in this dormitory, but now only Ning Qing is left. Because those 6 factotum disciples all his mother broke through the 4th level of Qi training, and happily went to be outside disciples. Only Ning Qing is left to sleep alone in this large bunk. The dormitory is quite large. But when will the hard labor, who can't see the end all day, go? Carrying the remaining firewood, Ning Qing felt extremely weak all over, and practicing Qi was only 2 or 3 times stronger than an ordinary person's physique, still within the realm of mortals. Sigh. It's been a week since Ning Qing last modified the Heavenly Dao trial, but there hasn't been much movement from all over the Qinglian sword sect. So when can Lord come to me? Feeling so tired, Ning Qing put the firewood on her back in the firewood room and returned to her residence, pushing open the wooden door. As soon as she pushed open the wooden door, Ning Qing saw someone standing in front of her bed, which made her slightly stunned and instantly increased her vigilance. But this vigilance was instantly overshadowed by the appearance of that beautiful figure. That is a woman dressed in a black silk long robe, with a crisp and neat ponytail tied. At this moment, one hand is resting on the long sword hanging around her waist, while the other hand is holding a book and carefully studying it. After noticing Ning Qing's arrival, she glanced at the door. The faint coldness emanating from her heroic demeanor made people unable to help but shout, "Vexia, please stay." After seeing Ning Qing push open the door, the female hero closed the book in her hand with one hand and shook the cover of the book towards Ning Qing. "Did you write this book?" "These are some clumsy works that I write in my spare time." Ning Qing dare not underestimate the female hero in front of her. After all, in this Qinglian sword sect, as long as one wields a sword, her strength is much stronger than Ning Qing. And the cover of the book she read is exactly water margin. At the beginning of Ning Qing's life in this world, she was thinking of creating some ancient poetry and classics to see if she could make some quick money. But in this world of cultivation, money is simply meaningless. Ning Qing can occasionally use the skill of copying texts to earn some storytelling money in the tea houses of the Qinglian sword sect for daily expenses. "It's a bit interesting," she said after making this evaluation. Out of courtesy, Ning Qing asked the female hero, "I don't know if your excellency is. Can you call me?" Jiang Qinglian, an outer disciple of the Qinglian sword sect's Guijian sect, came here today to find a clean place to practice swordsmanship. She responded. "What? Are you here to compete with me for a house?" Ning Qing instantly ignored whether the senior sister in front of her was pretty or not. Her first reaction was that she probably didn't even have a place to live, right? However, at this moment, Ning Qing suddenly felt the long dormant dantian inside her body stir up then. There was a feeling that made Ning Qing feel so comfortable that her expression became extremely strange and serious. At this moment, Ning Qing suddenly broke through the barrier that had trapped him for 18 years without warning. Successfully reached the pinnacle of life, practicing Qi on the 2nd level. This sudden breakthrough was not due to Ning Qing's ultimate cultivation, but because the conditions for the Heavenly Way trial were met. But isn't his condition for the Heavenly Way trial to cultivate feelings with the leader of the Qinglian sword sect, Jiang Qinglian, and then form a Taoist couple with him? Wait for Jiang Qinglian. Jiang Qinglian. Ning Qing once again turned her gaze to the female hero in front of her. Difficult. Is this female hero the Lord? Before Ning Qing could confirm her guess, a line of pale golden text suddenly appeared before her eyes. "Congratulations to you for opening your immortal relationship, and present you with a volume of Carving Heaven Illustrated Record. Is this a reward from the Heavenly Way? I haven't started soaking this master yet, have I? Why did you suddenly stuff the reward into my mouth?" While Ning Qing was still in a daze, she suddenly felt a splitting headache. This ancient secret book called Carving Heaven Illustrated Record suddenly entered Ning Qing's mind without reason. "Are you okay?" The female hero walked up to Ning Qing, who was in pain, with her sword in hand. She wanted to reach out to help Ning Qing, but for some reason, she hesitated for a moment and then withdrew her hand. "I'm fine, it's just a slight chill causing a headache." Ning Qing carefully analyzed the mysterious, carving heaven illustrated record, in her mind. Tiandao did not put all the contents of this ancient secret book into Ning Qing's mind, otherwise Ning Qing might have become a fool directly. Now it's just a summary and an extremely superficial part of this secret book. The record of carving heaven is divided into 2 chapters. Characters and paintings. Now, Ning Qing's mind can only learn the first 2 chapters of characters, which are the technique of cutting characters and the technique of taking characters. The essence of this record of carving heaven is to use a sword as a pen, blood as ink. To carve 1,000 words and 100 paintings on all things in heaven and earth with a sword. As long as one's own cultivation and spiritual energy are sufficient to support, the fate of all things in heaven and earth will inevitably be like the engraved words. The object that has been engraved with the chop word technique will be immediately chopped, and the whole body will be divided into 2 without mercy. The Shuo Zi Ju is the ability to plunder the power of all things in the world for one's own use. Just the first 2 words of the formula alone, Ning Qing could feel that it was definitely a terrifying cultivation technique that could distort or even modify the laws of heaven and earth. Isn't it? The heavenly way did Ning Qing suddenly give herself such a good reward, even though she had not yet formed a Taoist couple with the sect leader. But Ning Qing read the trial given to her by the heavenly way again, please the current leader of the Qingxian sword sect, Jiang Qinglian, until they become a Taoist couple. This heavenly way trial seems to be not just a short-term trial that limits Ning Qing's breakthrough, but a long-term trial that may accompany Ning Qing's entire life. If we understand it from the perspective of long-term trials, isn't Ning Qing just going to keep licking? Ah, bah. If you please that sect leader, will the Heavenly Dao continue to reward you? The requirement to complete the trial has become the most fatal, which is that once you become a true Taoist couple with this master, this trial is equivalent to completion, and the heavenly way will no longer reward you. Ning Qing thought of this and looked up again at the cold and indifferent female hero in front of her. At this moment, she took out a small bottle of elixir from her arms and handed it to Ning Qing. "This is the calming pill I usually use. Take it and try it out first. Maybe it can relieve your headache," she said. "Thank you very much, senior sister." Ning Qing smelled the fragrance emanating from the pill bottle in her hand, and at that moment, a line of pale golden text appeared before her eyes. The people who have formed a relationship have a slight liking for their fellow Taoists, giving them a slight spiritual boost. At this moment, Ning Qing suddenly felt that there was a slight decrease in impurities in her 5 series miscellaneous spiritual roots. Although it's only a little less, communication with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth has become much clearer. Well, as long as you soak this master, the heavenly way can actually help improve your spiritual root qualifications. At this moment, Ning Qing's gaze and expression as she looked at the female hero in front of her again were completely different. Ning Qingkai put in great effort to suppress the occurrence of drooling and other abnormal situations. The reason why Ning Qing will lose her composure is not because of the beauty of this female hero, but because the rewards given by the heavenly way are really too generous. What kind of Taoist couple do we need? Now all you need to do is keep pleasing this master, and the heavenly Dao will continue to give you various rewards. As long as I don't confess my love to this Lord. Then you can collect the wool of the heavenly way by yourself and continue to collect it until the end of time. At this moment, the leader of the Qingxian sword sect, Jiang Qinglian, who took the alias Jiang Qinglian, also noticed the stunning and longing expression on Ning Qing's face as she looked at her, even excited to the point of ecstasy. Are you so happy just to give this little favor? Even someone like Jiang Qinglian, who is so heartless and numb, feels that the young man in front of him is so naive that he is somewhat cute. If that's the only level, let alone 3 years or 3 months. That day, you kept an eye on me. Within 3 days, you can definitely make the man in front of you fall in love with me and confess your love to me. As long as this junior confesses to himself. Then Jiang Qinglian can complete the trial of the heavenly way and completely break the shackles of the heavenly way that bind me, soaring to become an immortal. At this moment, Jiang Qinglian and Ning Qing were gazing at each other, both able to discern the affectionate admiration and slightly disdainful contempt in each other's eyes. It should be like this. It can't be better. Young master. Both of them were thinking in unison, extremely satisfied with the attitude shown by the other party towards themselves, and full of confidence in their future. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. I want to teach you how to practice swordsmanship. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. I want to teach you how to practice swordsmanship. That master took on the pseudonym Jiang Qinglian and settled down in this dormitory as senior sister Ning Qing. You should know that this is a large bunk house, with the bed next to it. If she really sleeps here at night, Ning Qing can turn over and see her. She really decided to stay here. It seems that she is determined to eat Ning Qing, this tender grass, and is trying her best to soak Ning Qing. But this kind of life is not as good as Ning Qing thought. Perhaps due to the awkward period, this master never goes back to the dormitory at night, so he didn't imagine that when he was sleeping, he could just turn over and enjoy the beautiful sister's night. During the day, she was also very agile, and for several days, Ning Qing didn't have a chance to talk to her, making her wonder if she didn't want to soar. The time lasted until late at night. Ning Qing, who had been a lumberjack all day, did not choose to go back to her room to sleep, but instead came to the backyard with an iron sword in hand. There are 4 wooden figures in the backyard of the dormitory, which are usually used for training by these miscellaneous disciples. Ning Qing came here to practice the character cutting technique in the Carving Heaven Atlas. After several days of research by Ning Qing himself, the content recorded in the ancient secret biography of Carving Heaven Illustrated Records can be classified into 2 categories. Mind techniques and divine powers. The Zhanzi Ju and the Zhanzi Ju belong to the category of divine powers. Only the recorded mental techniques, as well as more character formulas and drawing beasts, may require Ning Qing to continue to please the sect leader in order to make the heavenly way burst out. Anyway, now Ning Qing prioritizes practicing the most lethal technique. The release method of the Zhanzi Ju is not difficult to say, but it is actually quite troublesome to say it is simple. That is to use the sword blade to carve the character, chop, on the target, and then stimulate the spiritual energy to activate the character. As a collateral branch of the Dali dynasty, Ning Qing also practiced the family tradition of breaking formation sword technique for 10 years before joining the Qingxian sword sect. This swordsmanship belongs to the swordsmanship of mortals. The emphasis is on using the sword as the gun, with a focus on breaking through and killing enemies with great force. It is more appropriate to say that it is a sword technique that is equipped with a horse-slaying sword. This caused Ning Qing to feel a bit uncomfortable when using the Zhanzi technique. Ning Qing swung his sword with his hand and put in great effort to carve the character, chop, on the wooden figure in front of him. During the carving process, there was no structure at all, only the tip of the iron sword in hand was forcefully engraved onto it. It took a total of about 10 seconds, from beginning to end if in actual combat, let alone whether the enemy will stand still and ask you to engrave characters on him. Just carving for more than 10 seconds is enough for the enemy's sword to penetrate Ning Qing's throat. Fortunately, the power of the Zhanzi Ju did not disappoint Ning Qing. After the characters were engraved, Ning Qing activated the spiritual energy in her body and whispered, "Broken." The wooden figure in front of Ning Qing was like being cut by an invisible wind blade at high speed, instantly turning into neat pieces and falling down in front of Ning Qing from top to bottom. Although Ning Qing himself could achieve this effect by chopping wooden figures with a sword, the transverse section was not as smooth. But when faced with cultivators who have protective true qi around their bodies, once the opponent's realm is too high, Ning Qinglian cannot break through the opponent's defense with a sword. But the Zhanzi Ju can do more than just that. As long as Ning Qing has enough spiritual energy and realm to support her, she can achieve the point of killing her body by Zhanzi. Even if she cannot make a decision, she can still seriously harm the opponent. The key is how to quickly carve the slash on the opponent's body. The swordsmanship that Ning Qing is currently practicing is too cumbersome and reckless, and it is not suitable for the divine powers in the eternal record. But now it's not easy to find a suitable swordsmanship. Ning Qing pretended to be tired from practicing swordsmanship and sat on the ground to rest for a while. The reason why Ning Qing chose to practice swordsmanship late at night. On the one hand, he didn't have time to work as a lumberjack during the day, and on the other hand, he wanted to play it for someone else. Ning Qing knows that the female patriarch will never give up on fashion, so she will definitely try her best to boost her popularity. And now is an excellent time. Junior brother got stuck in a bottleneck due to practicing swordsmanship hard. As a qualified senior sister, she came forward to give guidance at this time, and it was also in the ambiguous environment of late at night. No matter which junior brother you change, your favorability towards senior sister will gradually increase, okay? So, Lord, why are you still watching from the side? Hurry up and come out to improve my favorability towards you. Also, teach me how to practice swordsmanship. The reason why Ning Qing was so confident that Master Jiang Qinglian was watching from beside was because a heavenly reward popped up in front of Ning Qing's eyes at this moment. The people who have formed a relationship have a slight liking for their fellow Taoists, giving them a slight spiritual boost. Does practicing swordsmanship late at night like this increase your favorability? Does this patriarch like this kind of persona of working hard in private? Ning Qing felt the changes in her spiritual roots. Originally, Ning Qing's spiritual roots were 5 series mixed spiritual roots, which can be said to have no connection with building foundations. At most, she can cultivate up to 9 levels of qi cultivation. But after 2 spiritual root baptisms by the heavenly way, Ning Qing's spiritual root changed from a mixed spiritual root in the 5 series to a connected spiritual root in the 5 series, which allowed Ning Qing to break through and build a foundation. The spiritual root qualification is also possessed by most cultivators who are stuck in the golden elixir stage. Afterwards, there is the Huiling root, which is a standard accessory for geniuses in various sects, and the single lineage Huiling root falls under the category of unparalleled geniuses. But this is far more than that. As long as Ning Qing tries to please the sect leader in another way, it is possible for her spiritual root to be elevated to the 5 series heavenly spirit root. Not to mention the ancient mind techniques and supernatural powers that the heavenly way may provide, which are no less than those in the Carving Heaven illustrated records. So, Lord, please show up quickly and let me lick it properly. No. Let me also brush up your favorability well. This is good for everyone. In the dark, Mingqiu's thoughts were the same as Ning Qing's. That is now the perfect time for Jiang Qinglian, her good senior sister, to appear. But Jiang Qinglian still remained indifferent in the dark, as if pondering something. Master. Mingqiu wants to urge her own owner that the time is ripe, so she can step forward to win the favor of this young generation. But Jiang Qinglian suddenly asked, Jior, can you see the way he used to cut through the wooden man just now? Jiang Qinglian asked. That's why Jiang Qinglian's liking for Ning Qing has increased, and that's why she didn't understand how the wooden figure in front of Ning Qing was broken just now. Maybe it's some special way to use force, but master. Why do you care about this? Look, he's hit a bottleneck in swordsmanship now. Master, if you go up and teach him 1 move and 2 moves as a senior sister, he will definitely admire you. Jiang Qinglian can be certain that Ning Qingang was not using any powerful technique, but rather some kind of divine skill she had never seen before. This curious mentality is the reason why Jiang Qinglian has a slight liking for Ning Qing, and it is not because of Ning Qing's hardworking character design such as practicing swordsmanship late at night. This kind of character design is much more common in the Qingxian sword sect. However, Jiang Qinglian doesn't really want to delve deeper into these things. The rewards of the Heavenly Way trial are. There are many divine powers in this world that she has never seen before. It's not worth caring about just one divine power that can be mastered by practicing qi. On the contrary, the swordsmanship he practiced was truly a vulgar and unremarkable commodity. In Jiang Qinglian's eyes, it was completely disorganized without any rules or techniques. Not to mention that it matched with the flow of spiritual energy in her body, even normal battles were useless and useless. This young master of swordsmanship still treats it as a treasure, practicing it from late at night until the next morning every day. If she were to pass on one or two true immortal family swordsmanship moves to her as a senior sister, this young lady would be grateful and tearful no matter what she thinks, and then remember her as a good senior sister for a lifetime. It's only natural to express your love to her again when the time comes, just to be honest or something. Jiang Qinglian thought of it as if she had passed by chance, and rushed straight towards Ning Qing, who was sitting on the ground resting at the moment, holding her sword. End of this chapter. Do you guess if I am willing to learn Chapter 6? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Do you guess if I am willing to learn Chapter 6? Are you finally here? Although Ning Qing was thinking this way in her heart, she quickly stood up from the ground after seeing Jiang Qinglian and put on a face of fear and restraint. This kind of character of a junior apprentice is considered a very easy to strategize type by any strong-willed senior sister. Senior sister Qingying, why did you come here? Ning Qing quietly tidied up the dust on her clothes and asked. Ning Qing's little gesture of wanting to look cleaner was certainly noticed by Jiang Qinglian. You're really young. Just chatting with a beautiful senior sister can make you nervous like this. Just walking around and coincidentally encountering you practicing swordsmanship here, I see that the swordsmanship you just practiced doesn't seem to have any way to activate spiritual energy. Jiang Qinglian didn't say much nonsense, she directly pointed out that Ning Qinggang's newly trained broken array sword technique is a sword technique used by ordinary people. Most of the swordsmanship practiced by cultivators will directly coordinate with the spiritual energy in their bodies to generate energy. If the spiritual energy in the body cannot be mobilized, even if this swordsmanship is put on a beautiful display, it is a meaningless display for cultivators. Yes, I am practicing the family passed-down, breaking formation sword technique. Due to incomplete sword manuals, there is no method in the sword technique records to activate the spiritual energy in the body. Ning Qing quickly informed the lord of his situation truthfully. Is it the broken array sword of the Dali dynasty? It seems that what you have learned is indeed an incomplete manual. If you want to learn the complete broken array sword technique, senior sister, I also have some knowledge. However, my Qingxian sword sect is the first sword sect of the Dali Shenzhou, and the inheritance of the sword lineage is far stronger than your ancestral family, the Dali royal family. Jiang Qinglian said as she pulled out her long sword from her waist, and with a flick of her wrist, she turned to the three intact wooden figures in front of her and suddenly swung out a sword. The spiritual energy gathered on the blade instantly turned into a deadly blade, tearing through the surrounding air and dividing the three wooden figures in half from their waist. The almost transparent sword energy did not stop after cutting off the wooden man, until it cut the stone wall several meters behind the wooden man into pieces. After a sword strike, the ground of the martial arts arena was originally filled with dust and gravel, but the empty space in front of Jiang Qinglian was as clean as if it had been meticulously swept away, and there was no trace of sand or gravel in the cracks of the stone bricks. This is one of the introductory swordsmanship techniques of the Qingxian sword sect, the shadow-suppressing sword technique. Cultivated to perfection, the sword energy is like a wall, with nowhere to hide within 100 steps, and can take the lives of dozens of people in an instant. Jiang Qinglian looked at Ning Qing, who had already pretended to be stunned, and a faint sense of pride rose in her heart. However, she still asked Ning Qing with a calm expression. How about it? Junior brother, do you want to learn? Judging from your expression, you must want to learn too much, right? However, the sword technique used by senior sister just now has extraordinary power. I apologize for my rudeness, junior brother. Actually, I don't really want to learn. Ning Qing answered with an extremely nervous voice. Why? The expression on Jiang Qinglian's face did not change much. I pass it on that you don't learn the orthodox immortal family swordsmanship, but you have to guard the flower rack of that ordinary swordsmanship. Even if Jiang Qinglian's expression did not change much, there was a hint of criticism in just the following sentence. No, it's just that my junior brother thinks that Jiang's sword is too domineering and not suitable for my current cultivation direction. Ning Qing's words come from the heart. At first glance, Ning Qing knew that this Jiang sword technique also belonged to the type of open and close swordsmanship, only transforming the chopping into a deadly sword energy, and expanding the range of damage from line to surface. But such a domineering swordsmanship is not suitable for Ning Qing's current practice of the Zhanzi technique. What do you want to learn? Jiang Qinglian's words were urged by her sword spirit Mingqiu to ask. Mingqiu constantly reminded her to show a kind and patient listening expression on her face, and in short, she must pretend to be a kind-hearted senior sister. But unfortunately, Jiang Qinglian is not good at making such expressions, or in other words, she is not good at making any expressions. So much so that Jiang Qinglian's face twitched at this moment, with a smirk that made Ning Qing look a bit nervous. That expression seemed to be saying, practice or die. Choose one. To be honest with senior sister, what I want to learn now is actually a relatively light and agile sword technique that can stab multiple swords in an instant. Ning Qing faced the death gaze from her own patriarch and quickly continued to express her demands in a nervous tone. If senior sister doesn't know, then I can. Under the urging and reminder of Mingqiu, Jiang Qinglian quickly interrupted Ning Qing's words. She directly informed this junior brother that your senior sister knows a lot more swordsmanship, so it's okay for you to show your admiration for me now. However, after Jiang Qinglian followed her own sword spirit's words and stabilized Ning Qing's emotions, she felt a strange fatigue again. The reason for fatigue is not because of Ning Qing's pickiness, but because of the trial of the heavenly way. If it weren't for the trial of the heavenly way, she would have turned around and left at the moment Ning Qing refused. Even if she is not a Mahayana cultivator, as a senior sister willing to pass on your immortal family's teachings is still a great gift. How dare you pick and choose? Love to learn, but don't learn well. This is also Jiang Qinglian's attitude towards others after Mahayana. Similarly, it is also the reason why she rarely experiences excessive emotional fluctuations with outsiders, and the main reason is that Jiang Qinglian doesn't need to care about anyone's thoughts or opinions on a daily basis. Whether it's Elder Zhenzong or her sword spirit, she doesn't need to consider each other's emotions and has always lived a life of her own way. But it was precisely this heavenly mission that pulled her out of this transcendent comfort zone, and she had to find ways to brush up the favor of this young generation. In addition, Ning Qing is now not going according to her wishes and has shown an disobedient side. This is like a cold-blooded assassin being forced to take a bare child, making it difficult for Jiang Qinglian to adapt. I know of a sword technique called Fangsuan Yushin sword, which can definitely meet your requirements, junior brother. But this swordsmanship does not come from my Qingxian sword vein, and I only know a part of it. Moreover, the power of the swordsmanship itself is much lower than that of the Jiang sword technique in the same level, and in my opinion, it is also an extremely difficult flower-shaped move to use. But at this moment, Jiang Qinglian still has some pride as a sect leader. She ignored the constant shouting in her divine Master, if he wants to learn from you, teach him. Mingqiu directly spoke to Ning Qing in a semi-threatening tone with an extremely stern tone. Please teach me, senior sister. But as if unable to hear Jiang Qinglian's threat, Ning Qing lowered her head and bowed to Jiang Qinglian, clasping her fists. After understanding these, do you still want to learn this foreign sect swordsmanship? Jiang Qinglian's tone became increasingly cold. This time, even Jiang Qinglian's face showed some displeasure. The reason is that Fangsuan Yushin sword is actually a sword technique created by a rival who has been competing with each other since her cultivation, although this person is also a noble and upright person. But my own disciple chose not to practice the swordsmanship created by his master, but instead chose to practice the swordsmanship of his own family. Even if Jiang Qinglian's mood remains calm, she will still feel a hint of displeasure. But what really made Jiang Qinglian feel uncomfortable was that she had not yet been able to express her displeasure, and even had to swallow this unpleasant emotion, honestly teaching Ning Qing to practice the swordsmanship of the right family. At this glance, the Heavenly Dao trial really played a role in honing her Dao heart. No, senior sister. I didn't mean that. You interrupted what I wanted to say before, which is why you misunderstood me, Ning Qing said quickly. What you said before. Is it the second half of, if I don't know, then what do you do? Jiang Qinglian has a good memory, and she firmly believed that the second half of what Ning Qing wanted to say was something like, if senior sister doesn't know, then I won't learn. That would make her blood pressure rise. No. I want to say yes, if senior sister doesn't know how to, then I will learn whatever senior sister is willing to teach. Senior sister is willing to teach me the Taoist teachings of the immortal family, which is a great kindness that I dare not forget. How can I dare to nitpick and shirk, junior brother? During her speech, Ning Qing bowed and bowed her entire body. If it weren't for the inconvenience of apprenticeship among her fellow disciples, Ning Qing could have directly performed the apprenticeship ceremony on the spot. During the period of bowing and bowing down, Ning Qing continued to speak in a grateful tone. Just this great kindness from senior sister, although I am in a humble situation now, I cannot forget it. So if senior sister doesn't mind, if junior brother is still in the Qingxian sword sect in the future, he is willing to be sent by senior sister at will, entrusted with his whole body, and given with his life to repay the kindness of the immortal family's Tao and Dharma passed down by senior sister. Jiang Qinglian listened to Ning Qing's heartfelt words of gratitude, and her expression once again became somewhat tense. This time it's because of a faint excitement because the whole body is entrusted to each other, as a gift of life. What's the difference between this and making promises with one's own body? Jior, has this been done? Jiang Qinglian suppressed the faint excitement in her heart and asked. It's done. But it's not completely done yet. Master, you have to hold back. This young generation is only grateful to you now, not yet in love. Why does Mingqiu always feel like her master will make this young man speak in the next second? Oh. Randomly dispatched, meaning to listen to me for everything. Then immediately say, like me, on the spot, how about becoming a Taoist couple with me? This kind of words. Fortunately, Jiang Qinglian's thousands of years of nourishing energy have allowed her to easily control the inexplicable excitement in her heart. It's not fake that Jiang Qinglian's heart keeps surging with a faint sense of achievement, even though she has controlled it. This feeling is very peculiar. Although she has received countless disciples over the past 1,000 years, there are also many people who are grateful and admired by her. But because of her identity and status, she didn't pay much attention to these things, and also felt that it was only natural, whether there were things that didn't matter. But this time, Jiang Qinglian was very concerned about the attitude and opinion of the young man in front of her, as well as how much he liked her. After all, it was related to whether she could soar. So as long as the younger generation in front of her has a slight increase in her favorability, it gives Jiang Qinglian a sense of satisfaction and achievement that she has broken through a great realm. After Jiang Qinglian discovered that this young junior was so obedient, so grateful and considerate towards her senior sister, she had another feeling of cheating pleasure from obtaining some unparalleled martial arts. All of this made Jiang Qinglian feel that Ning Qing had become more pleasing to her eyes, and with this heavenly trial, it didn't make her feel so tired and difficult to cope with. Seeing how obedient this junior brother is, wouldn't it be simple to take him down in the future? Jiang Qinglian thought so happily, subconsciously wanting to reach out and rub Ning Qing's forehead. This was the action she would instinctively do to her sword spirit Mingqiu when she was happy. But Jiang Qinglian quickly realized the inadequacy of this small move, withdrew her restless claws, and went to help Ning Qing. You don't need to be so grateful. I just casually passed on your swordsmanship. I will stay here for a while in the future, and I also need your care in terms of clothing and food. I will never let senior sister down. Ning Qing replied solemnly as if he had taken on some heavy burden. Unfortunately, Ning Qing's appearance is all made up because Ning Qing is well aware of various ways to make her elders happy, the simplest of which is to follow their instructions. But there is another way to advance, which is to first go against the ideas of the elders and say something that you think is better. When the elders start to be unhappy, then reveal your immature side as a younger generation, and lower your head to listen to their words honestly. This not only enhances the favorability of elders, but also greatly satisfies their self-esteem and sense of achievement. Ning Qing's method is also extremely effective on this elder woman, the patriarch. At least just now, Tiandao was frantically stuffing rewards into Ning Qing's mouth. The people who have formed a connection have a slight liking for their Taoist friends, and they have trained their spiritual roots into gathering divine powers and spiritual roots. The people who have formed a bond with each other have a lot of favorable feelings towards their fellow Taoists, endowing them with a mental technique called seizing the heavenly robbery. Isn't this ancient mental method that I have been longing for here? And finally, my spiritual roots have been trained to the level of a normal cultivator. As long as Ning Qing works harder, the only 5 elements heavenly spirit root in the world is definitely not a dream. More importantly, it seems that this senior sister is so easy to coax now. Isn't it easy to collect wool from the heavenly way in the future? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Master, it's time to be a chicken. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Master, it's time to be a chicken. Ning Qing naturally took on the task of taking care of this senior sister's daily life. During the few days we spent together, Ning Qing finally realized that the Lord's favorability was really not easy to brush. The main reason is that her nature is too light. Jiang Qinglian's indifference stems from her innate nature as a Mahayana powerhouse. Many essential things in the eyes of ordinary people seem insignificant to her. The most typical example is Ning Qing's determination that she still has good craftsmanship. At least in her past life, Ning Qinglian was able to grab the stomachs of countless women by cooking, and of course, not even a woman's stomach could grab them. But when the dishes made by Ning Qing were delivered to this lord, they became ordinary. It is still because this patriarch has been walking on the continent of China for hundreds of years. Although she has been clearing the valley since the day of the golden elixir, she has tasted some of the various dishes from all over the world. The dishes cooked by Ning Qing are no better, but as long as they fall within the 8 major cuisines, her feelings after eating them are just delicious and quite good. But to enhance the favorability of this lord, just being delicious and quite good is far from enough. A woman like her, Ning Qing must surprise her. This is how she can truly pay attention to herself and enhance her liking for herself. Is it true that Chinese cuisine is not suitable and we can only use Western cuisine? Don't mess with those exquisite dishes, let that master experience the purest and most primitive happiness directly. Ning Qing thought so viciously that her hand was still rubbing clothes on the washboard. Now Ning Qing is helping the Lord wash clothes. During the process of washing clothes, Ning Qing also discovered that the sect leader was very cunning. That's the clothes she cleaned for Ning, which of course contain intimate clothes that make people blush and feel heartbroken. But the problem is that these close-fitting clothes are not original, but the same style that she gave to Ning Qing separately and did not wear. She would do this, and Ning Qing also understands. After all, a lady from a wealthy family like her definitely doesn't want a wild man to help her wash her intimate clothes. But the most cunning thing came, and unfortunately, these additional clothes also carried a unique body fragrance, pretending to be exactly what the sect leader was wearing. This is really a good strategy. If it weren't for Ning Qing being able to smell the subtle difference between the body fragrance on her clothes and the fragrance on the master's body. I guess like those innocent junior brothers who were already deceived by this woman, they shyly and happily washed the intimate clothes of the sect leader. Is there someone behind her back who is helping her strategize? After washing the clothes in her hand, Ning Qing hung them on a clothesline to dry, pondering whether the Lord, who was talking about his love for the city, was really deep enough to make such a cunning move. However, Ning Qing didn't ponder on this for too long. No matter what moves the other party makes, he just needs to cooperate and perform well throughout the process. To Ning Qing, portraying a considerate, obedient junior brother is still quite simple. Of course, Ning Qing cannot always passively cooperate with the other party in acting, and he should also take the initiative to brush up the favor of the sect leader on his own side. First, let's start by making a lunch that will make the Lord unable to stop. Ning Qing thought of this and walked straight to the chicken shed on the other side of the cottage. This chicken shed was all filled with fairy-like chickens that Ning Qing had raised himself. This type of chicken is called the red-feathered bird, which can be called the red-feathered chicken in a more tacky way. It is naturally six-winged, with a fiery red body and incredibly fresh and tender meat. But not many people in this land of China eat it, so the price is extremely cheap. The reason for not eating it is that this type of chicken contains fire and spiritual energy inside its body, which leads to its meat taste being so spicy that it is lethal to ordinary people and already falls under the category of poison. So this kind of red-feathered chicken cannot be classified as a food ingredient at all, and is often used by low-level cultivators as a guide for alchemy. The taste of most spiritual beasts in this world is basically like this, either bitter enough to be difficult to swallow, extremely spicy, or naturally poisonous. In Ning Qing's opinion, this is also very normal. Otherwise, why did these chickens, cows, sheep, and pigs evolve so hard to have spiritual energy? Is it anthropomorphizing? The answer, of course, is to prevent others from eating it. This type of chicken Ning Qing was previously used as a medicinal guide for alchemy, but now Ning Qing has a method to dissolve the extremely spicy fire spiritual energy in the meat of red feather chicken. This method is Ning Qing's ancient mind technique, grasping the heavenly robbery, which was forcibly stuffed into his mouth by the Heavenly Dao a few days ago. The mind technique of raging heaven looks like a magical mind technique, and when practiced, it also resembles a magical mind technique. When used, it is more like a magical mind technique, but it is not actually a magical mind technique. To be precise, its existence is superior to the two paths of righteousness and evil. The core element of the mind technique in the robbery of heaven is the ability to seize the spiritual energy, meridians, roots, and foundations of all living beings from heaven and earth, and refine them to enhance oneself. This mental technique is still very weak, so we can only bully the lowest end creature in the food chain, the red feather chicken, and seize the spiritual energy drifting from heaven and earth. Sorry, little brother, don't worry. I will make you delicious enough. Ning Qing looked at the red feathered chicken in the chicken coop and immediately extended her claws, pressing down on its head. The fire spiritual energy contained in the body of the red feather chicken was fully extracted and refined by Ning Qing under the urging of Ning Qing's heaven-rating heart technique. The fiery red feathers on the surface of this red feathered chicken began to turn white to the naked eye, and in the end, it transformed into an ordinary domestic chicken. Its natural 6 wings were telling this world that it used to be a chicken with immortal aura. After removing the impurities from this ingredient, Ning Qing immediately started to pluck the fur and remove the fishy smell. The home-cooked dish that Ning Qing is going to make today is fried chicken. In Ning Qing's opinion, this dish is actually quite simple to make. There are many different styles of fried chicken, and Ning Qing can make some of them. They are high-end, simple, rough, exquisite, spicy, sweet, and garlic-flavored. So here Ning Qing decided to try some of the methods. Anyway, there are enough flamboyant chickens, and the Lord doesn't need to lose weight. The first thing to do is, of course, the most commonly eaten in classic spicy chicken wings and finger-sucking authentic chicken, which Ning Qing studied for a period of time before crossing the border. Now Ning Qing can basically go crazy on Thursdays without having to eat kaifeng dishes, and just do it at home. The former is relatively simple. Chicken wings are marinated for a period of time to taste, and then coated with powder, requiring some techniques to ensure that they scale and present a golden color during frying. As long as there is no situation like those newbies who are frying chicken, even though I have wrapped myself in a layer of powder outside, how can I fry it like tree bark? For the latter, attention should be paid to the preparation of spices, and a high-pressure environment is needed to cook chicken. Both of these can be solved by Ning Qing. The former can be used in an alchemy furnace, while the latter can find a balance in terms of spices in this world. Changing the knife, pickling. Ning Qing's movements were extremely fast, which also played a role in the Yushan Fangsuan sword taught by the master. Although Ning Qing's swordsmanship is only beginner now, his movements of holding sharp weapons are clearly much more agile than before. The pickling time of Ning Qing can stimulate spiritual energy and shorten the time by infiltrating the marinade into the chicken. This was also the most commonly used way of spiritual energy before Ning Qing. After all, using spiritual energy to fight is like seeking death, so Ning Qing has been thinking about how to use spiritual energy to help cook in her daily life, and now it can be considered a familiar way. As time gradually approached noon, Ning Qing's 3 turkey chickens all turned into crispy and fragrant fried chicken of various colors and were taken out of the pot. Each type of fried chicken, Ning Qing, is fried together with a time interval of less than a minute. This thing must be eaten while it is hot and crispy, otherwise the flavor will decrease by half when it gets cold. Ning Qing arranged the crispy fried chickens with a golden luster on the plate, and then ran to the cold well on the other side to pull up 2 wine pots. In these 2 wine pots, one pot is filled with sparkling happy water and the other pot is filled with sparkling lemon juice. These 2 are definitely one of the best companions when frying chicken. Master, if you can really refuse this kind of happiness, then you have truly become an immortal, not asking about the mundane affairs of the world. Ning Qing found a cup and poured happiness water and lemon juice separately, then walked directly towards the dormitory with a plate filled with fried chicken crispy aroma. During the process, Ning Qing also tried the fried chicken made from red feather chicken. After finishing, Ning Qing can only be said to be a chicken with a fairy-like aura, and its taste are more delicious than any fried chicken she had eaten before, basically to the extent of being drugged. But no matter what, even the most powerful fairy in this world, the taste of her tongue is just like that of a mortal. So, Lord, it's time to be a chicken. End of this chapter. Have you considered the possibility of maternal love deteriorating in Chapter 8? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Have you considered the possibility of maternal love deteriorating in Chapter 8? At this moment, Jiang Qinglian was holding the book, Water Margin, in her cottage and studying it. Her sword spirit Mingqiu had used the invisibility technique and was floating beside her. That young generation has written so many stories about immortals, ghosts, and monsters. Why do you just stare at books that mostly tell ordinary people's trivial matters? Mingqiu looked at the book Liaozhai and Jianlin Zaji, which recorded many classic folk stories and legends of gods and ghosts, with some confusion. After a rough glance at these books, Jiang Qinglian found them uninteresting. Especially in Mingqiu's view, Journey to the West was particularly interesting, and Jiang Qinglian also let it go after a few glances. She showed extremely strong interest in the exhibitions of 3 Kingdoms and Water Margin. Jior, did we experience fewer stories of supernatural and supernatural beings when we were still traveling to the 9 continents to slay demons? Jiang Qinglian flipped over a page of the book, Water Margin, in her hand, only to find that it was already the last page of the book, but it happened to be stuck at the most exciting point of the story. This made Jiang Qinglian glance at the piled-up books on the table and realize that it was already the last volume of Water Margin. At this moment, the patriarch experienced the kind of eagerness to know the rest of the content, only to find that the author had not even started writing, and had to wait for 10.5 days to write the usual sense of pain. But it's quite rare for you, Master, to be interested in these ordinary people's stories. In Mingqiu's impression, Jiang Qinglian had stopped asking about worldly matters many years ago and was solely focused on cultivation. Perhaps it is because I have been practicing in seclusion for too long that I became interested in stories about love, hatred, loyalty, and bravery among these ordinary people. Jiang Qinglian put down the book in her hand and said to her sword spirit. The Zhanqian sword I cultivate slays the 7 emotions and 6 desires of the past. If I experience and feel it again, emotions will still emerge. If there is too much, it will make the Zhanqian sword's intention dull. However, just now this level is far from affecting the original intention of the sword. So over the years, I have been in seclusion and have had little contact with outsiders, and there hasn't been much emotional turmoil. But now that young person really makes me feel very angry. Angry. But Master, didn't you think that young man was well behaved and obedient a few days ago? He even said he wanted to make a promise with his own body. Mingqiu didn't quite understand why her master's attitude towards Ning Qing changed so quickly. It took her less than 3 or 4 days since she decided to teach Ning Qing how to practice swordsmanship that night. Mingqiu doesn't remember any actions that Ning Qing did to offend Jiang Qinglian in the past 3 or 4 days. Even the intimate clothes that Mingqiu forcefully gave to Ning Qing. Ning Qing just honestly washed them and hung them in the sun, without using them for anything dirty. Because Jiang Qinglian suddenly realized that she was a bit petty at this point, but in front of the sword spirit, she still revealed the true reason for her anger. Because for the past 4 days, he said he wanted to practice the Zhenying sword that I taught him, but in reality, he was all focused on the swimming body square-inch sword technique. Every time I saw him at night, I was secretly practicing this sword technique. Just because of this. Mingqiu was stunned by her master's angry reason, and now her face was filled with, "Is that all? Is there a problem?" Jiang Qinglian frowned lightly and asked. Zhenying sword is the authentic sword technique of our sect. Although it is an entry-level sword technique, it can be practiced to the extreme and can wave and split mountains. It is one of the sword techniques that sword cultivators all over the world dream of. I have taught him this sword technique so attentively. How could he dare to secretly practice outsiders' flower frame sword technique? Do you consider that flower frame sword technique more important than our sect's authentic sword technique? If it were discovered that one's own disciple was secretly practicing the swordsmanship of the other family and looked down upon the swordsmanship of one's own master, it would be infuriating for any master in the world. But the key is, Master, you are here to fall in love with him, not to be his master. Mingqiu helplessly reminded Jiang Qinglian. What swordsmanship does he love to learn, and what does it have to do with making him fall in love with you? It's okay, but I just can't bear it, Jiang Qinglian said proudly. Why didn't you, Master, cut off your jealousy ability together with your 7 emotions and 6 desires? Is this the mentality that a great cultivator should have, just because of this small matter and getting angry? Mingqiu felt waves of headaches and rubbed her small head with both hands. After adjusting her mood, Mingqiu warned her owner with an extremely serious tone. Master, in this trial of the heavenly way, it is not only necessary for the younger generation to fall in love with you and confess to you, but also for you to fall in love with that younger generation and accept his confession before establishing a romantic relationship. Mingqiu noticed the change in Jiang Qinglian's expression and quickly continued to add. Of course, Master, all you need to do is to have a slight liking for that junior, just a little bit. Jiang Qinglian looked at Mingqiu's hurried appearance and let out a slight sigh of helplessness. I'm afraid it's really a bit difficult. I can follow your arrangement, Jior, to deceive that young man and make him admire me, but I really can't deceive my true intentions. Master, is it so difficult for you to fall in love with that younger generation? It's not even possible at all. Mingqiu asked. It's very difficult, because I really can't see anything that appeals to me in that younger generation. What I'm referring to is the aspect of relationships between men and women. Jiang Qinglian shook her head slightly and said. I have observed it these days, and his spiritual foundation is the Tongling root. This spiritual aptitude has exhausted his lifetime, and the chance is ultimately only in the golden elixir realm. His talent in swordsmanship is also mediocre and somewhat clumsy. Even if he practices swordsmanship for a lifetime, he may not achieve much success. Furthermore, the bloodline. Although carrying the royal blood of the Dali dynasty, it has faded to the point of non-existent, and it can be said that there is basically no such thing. This ordinary person should never have had any interaction with my seat in his lifetime. Now, due to the test of the heavenly way, I want to force my seat to like him. This really makes me have a great resentment in my heart. Jiang Qinglian did not hide anything about her sword spirit, and directly expressed her views after coming into contact with Ning Qing these days. Although this young man has been extremely obedient for some time, it seems more like he is watching from here. The feeling of a cat and a dog may be a bit excessive. Perhaps it is more appropriate to use underage children. Although cute, teasing the other person can make us feel happy for a long time. However, Jior, would you have genuine feelings for a cat and a dog or an underage child? Do you have true feelings for cats and dogs? This question sounds extremely heart-wrenching in Mingqiu. In Jiang Qinglian's eyes, what she currently shows the most to Ning Qing is the love and care of her elders towards her younger generations. She finds it difficult to treat Ning Qing as an equal peer, and with this layer of resentment, it's really difficult for her to have genuine feelings for Ning Qing. That Master Jior heard that there are many examples of filial piety deteriorating on the land of China. Can't you just pull your face down a bit? And have a mother's love deteriorating? Mingqiu pondered for a while and said. This sentence left Jiang Qinglian stunned for a moment. After understanding the meaning of Mingqiu's words, her cheeks, which had not turned red for 100 years, finally showed a slight crimson color at this moment. Strike me. Jiang Qinglian didn't hesitate to pick up the long sword placed next to the table, ready to use the scabbard to pull the small buttocks of the unobstructed sword spirit. What the Master Jior said is true. You really like that young man. It's not that his mother's love has deteriorated, what is it? Sigh. Wait. Master, someone is here. As Mingqiu chattered and begged for mercy, she suddenly sensed someone approaching the cottage. Jiang Qinglian also stopped twitching Mingqiu's little buttocks, and Mingqiu took this opportunity to swoosh into the slashing dust sword. Not long after Mingqiu escaped into the slashing dust sword, she was attracted by a fragrance and poked her little head out of the sword sheath. At this moment, Ning Qing carried a whole plate of crispy and tender fried chicken, bringing in lemon juice and sparkling water. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Good taste. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Good taste. I saw that senior sister's food has been tasteless recently, so I made some crispy chicken dishes unique to Western countries to see if it can make senior sister have some appetite, Ning Qing said. This seat doesn't have an appetite, but it doesn't even need to eat. Of course, Jiang Qinglian just thought about it this way. Even she had to admit that the food cooked by Ning Qing was indeed delicious. At least better than all the chefs in her memory. Unfortunately, Jiang Qinglian's current personality makes her less fond of praising others, and the most common evaluations are pretty good and okay. And for cultivators at her level, food is no longer a necessity. So even if Ning Qing makes even the most delicious food and brings it to Jiang Qinglian, it is difficult to surprise her, even to the point of shaking her true heart, probably, bring it in and leave it. Jiang Qinglian didn't refuse either, mainly because her sword spirit Mingqiu was really greedy, and her small head protruding from the scabbard was about to drool. This sword spirit didn't care at all that Ning Qing's entire plate was filled with her tragic death of the same kind. Ning Qing obediently placed a whole plate of fried chicken, black bubble water, and lemon juice on the table in front of Jiang Qinglian. After the dishes were all served, Ning Qing stood at the table for a while, and Jiang Qinglian fell into a brief silence. The two of them were so embarrassed. Mingqiu was the first to react. She wiped the saliva from the corner of her mouth and pouted on her master, then quickly spoke to her master in her divine sense. "Master, what are you still staring at? Let him sit down and eat together." Jiang Qinglian reacted and was about to invite Ning Qing to sit down with her, but Ning Qing spoke up first. "Senior sister, please eat first. I still need to go and help other senior brothers from outside to chop firewood and wood for now. Don't disturb me." Master, what are you, Leave him here." Mingqiu sometimes really wants to punch her master when she sees his dull answer. After considering the end of the transformation of the family into a master, Mingqiu still held back his fighting power. So Mingqiu could only watch helplessly as Ning Qing's somewhat lonely figure left the room, rushing to do those insignificant laborers for other external doors in the scorching summer. If Jiang Qinglian were to speak up at this time to persuade Ning Qing to stay and avoid the heavy labor of outsiders, would Ning Qing's favorability definitely rise again. "Jior, aren't you hungry? Let's eat." Jiang Qinglian ignored the incessant chatter of her own sword spirit and entered a state of closed-mindedness, indicating that her sword spirit could eat all the crispy chicken in front of her. "Thank you very much, master. Mingqiu can't afford to be a dog-headed military strategist anymore. She has been providing advice for her own owner until now, and she still has to charge a little hard work fee no matter what." She immediately picked up a piece of wing and began to nibble on it. When the crispy outer skin and tender and juicy chicken blended in Mingqiu's mouth, Mingqiu realized that bird wings could be made so delicious. So much so that when Mingqiu was gnawing on it, she couldn't speak anymore. With her mouth stuffed and her cheeks bulging, she looked like a little squirrel. "Master, you also eat it." During the gnawing period, Mingqiu did not forget to remind her master not to just watch in her divine consciousness. But Jiang Qinglian looked at Mingqiu's messy and oily eating appearance, and she lightly pursed her mouth without giving any answer. If that young man asks the master how the crispy chicken tastes and you can't answer, it will make him sad. Mingqiu added another sentence, causing Jiang Qinglian's eyebrows to jump. She could only helplessly pick up her chopsticks and, as if appreciating her face, picked up a golden wing and took a light bite in her mouth. After tasting this bite, Jiang Qinglian's face showed a hint of surprise. She slowly chewed on her other hand, gently blocking her mouth. Compared to her devouring sword spirit, she was truly a lady to the extreme. The taste of this crispy chicken cannot be said to be too delicious in Jiang Qinglian's opinion. Okay. It's really delicious, with a moderate salty taste, and the juice overflowing between the chicken is simply delicious. But what really surprised Jiang Qinglian was the taste of crispy chicken, which had already reached the level of Dao in food. After biting through the crispy skin, the tender and juicy chicken caught her teeth. The feeling brought by this taste is like soaking in a hot spring in the cold winter, with a sense of satisfaction and pleasure that exists in the extreme contrast blending together. That's right. It's not about being delicious or not, but about being satisfied and refreshing. As Mingqiu spoke, she pushed the glass of lemon juice back to her. As she took a sip of the sour lemon juice and the cold liquid entered her throat, this satisfaction and pleasure further transformed into a feeling of pleasure and pleasure. "Master, why do you always use chopsticks? Just grab them with your hands." Halfway through the meal, Mingqiu found that Jiang Qinglian was still slowly eating chicken wings with chopsticks. Although Jiang Qinglian's chopstick dexterity is extremely skillful, it cannot be compared to directly holding and gnawing with both hands. But Mingqiu's suggestion quickly received a cold look from Jiang Qinglian in response. Mingqiu immediately understood her owner's thoughts upon seeing this gaze. "Oh. Jior knows. The reason why you don't want to keep that young master is because you don't want her to see your current eating habits. Alright, I'll go eat outside too. After all, the master is also a very cold fairy on the ground in my heart. Although Mingqiu's words may sound quite frank, there is a strange feeling of yin and yang in every way she hears them. A true fairy like her master would definitely not have any messy eating habits. Well, Mingqiu was indeed in a strange situation, so she quickly put several different flavors of chicken wings and finger-sucking original chicken on her plate before her owner got angry, and ran out of the room with this plate of crispy chicken feast. Jiang Qinglian watched as Mingqiu pushed the door open and left, feeling speechless. After Mingqiu left, Jiang Qinglian picked up chopsticks and silently ate several wings. The taste is really good. The young master's talent for cultivation is not good, and he is really skilled in cooking. In this aspect, the entire Qingxian sword sect may not be able to match his people. Jiang Qinglian also realized that chopsticks were really inconvenient halfway through the meal, and was pondering whether to get started or not. Shortly after leaving, Mingqiu suddenly pushed open the door and poked her head in. "Master, do you think this crispy chicken meal can spoil your maternal love for this young generation?" The response to Mingqiu's fatal question was a sharp chicken bone piercing into the edge of the door next to her cheek. "This seat is not that cheap," Jiang Qinglian said coldly. "How many more meals?" Mingqiu continued to ask. "This is not a matter of eating." This time, Jiang Qinglian put down her chopsticks and placed her hand on the hilt of the sword, saying, "Jure. Instead of struggling to figure out how to make me fall in love with that young person, why don't you find a way to quickly make that young person confess to me? I feel like he already has feelings for me, just an opportunity to convert this admiration into love. Master, don't take any action. Jure really knows that there may be an opportunity recently to make that younger generation completely fall in love with you." Mingqiu saw that her master was about to pick up his sword scabbard again, pondering whether to spank her little buttocks. In an instant, he quickly transformed into a dog-headed military strategist and came up with a plan. "You'd better really have it, otherwise I won't let you indulge in eating and drinking the meals that the younger generation will cook in the future." Jiang Qinglian's indifferent words instantly made Mingqiu show a pitiful expression. Under Mingqiu's pitiful expression that could even drip water from her eyes, Jiang Qinglian felt a slight headache and gently furrowed her brows, saying, "Take it, there's still some left over here, and I've tasted enough for this place." Jiang Qinglian knew that Mingqiu pretended to be pitiful, but what she wanted was actually the plate of crispy chicken that she had not finished eating yet. This 9-colored feather phoenix is really merciless when it comes to eating its own kind, or perhaps Ning Qing has made her kind so delicious. Mingqiu carried the half plate of crispy chicken and went out, but in less than a while, she ate it to the bone rack. "Thank you, master. Jure guarantees that the opportunity arranged for the master in the future will definitely make that young person fall in love with you wholeheartedly." Mingqiu shouted, "Long live," and rushed into the room to continue nibbling on the remaining finger-sucking original chicken. Jiang Qinglian looked at Mingqiu's messy eating habits, which made her feel like she wasn't full for the first time. As a Mahayana immortal, she should not feel hungry in theory, so here it is simply that her appetite has not been satisfied. It seems that the next time that young man cooks, he should be instructed to cook more, or else all of it will be eaten by this 9-colored feather phoenix. It's quite uncomfortable for her to be watching her greedily. Greedy mouth. Jiang Qinglian never expected that hundreds of years later, she could still feel and experience this feeling. She can indeed give a little praise to that junior in this regard. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Divine Arts and Methods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Divine Arts and Methods. The people who have formed a relationship have a slight liking for their Taoist friends, endowing them with divine powers and techniques. The Legend of the Constant Way. Unconscious cold and warm. The people who have formed a bond have a sense of expectation for their Taoist friends, endowing them with the unique skill of divine powers. 10 Directions for Spiritual Exploration. When Ning Qing was carrying an axe and facing the scorching sun with a bitter expression, preparing to go to the logging yard to chop wood, Tiandao suddenly slipped the reward into Ning Qing's mouth again. Sleeping trough. A plate of fried chicken can exchange for 2 divine powers. This made Ning Qing want to throw the axe in her hand on the spot and then go back to continue stuffing fried chicken into the mouth of the master. But Ning Qing quickly calmed down. Although the plan to surprise the Lord with fried chicken was successful, it is estimated that it can only be successful once. However, judging from the reaction of the heavenly way, this kind of delicacy can still move the Lord's heart. If you cook with a little more effort afterwards, you should be able to slowly grasp the master's stomach with a steady stream of water. And then slowly increase your favorability. Just using this daily method to increase favorability may not be much. Ning Qing still needs to think about whether there is anything that can significantly improve the favorability of that sect leader, that is, make a big profit. Such an opportunity. But this kind of opportunity is rare and hard to come by, and Ning Qing didn't dwell too much on it. He directly checked the 2 divine rewards given to him by the Heavenly Dao. There are many methods for dividing the divine powers mastered by the earth cultivators in these Kyushu regions into levels, but the most widely recognized method is still the one given by the Heavenly Dao. There are a total of 4 levels, each with 3 levels. Upper, middle, and lower. 1 is the common technique. As the name suggests, it is an ordinary technique. These types of supernatural powers are basically used in daily life, such as the flower, bird, water and moon that can spray water at the fingertips, and the water purification technique that can quickly clean items. The supernatural powers of Changshu level are extremely common among the cultivators of Kyushu. In every cultivator who breaks through great realms, such as practicing qi, building foundations, and receiving rewards from the heavenly way, they are basically ordinary skill level divine powers. Although there are also many magical powers at the level of regular magic that contain killing power and are extremely practical, they are not precious things after all. The function of Ning Qing's ordinary skill level divine power, cold and warm unconscious, which was stuffed into his mouth by the Heavenly Dao, is to control his body temperature and resist certain extreme cold or heat during the operation of the divine power. This divine power is a lifesaver for Ning Qing now. Ning Qing works in that logging farm because all the trees are a type of alchemy spirit tree called fire spirit wood. That logging field is extremely hot and dry. Even if Ning Qing's cultivation has reached the 3rd level of qi cultivation, it cannot withstand the heat wave in that logging field. Furthermore, there are secret level divine powers, which already belong to the 1st level of entering the house. Most of them have a certain level of killing power or can be used as a surprise move in combat, such as the shrink to an inch that can only move 100 meters, and the empowerment decision that can attach spiritual consciousness to others. This type of divine ability is a reward given by the heavenly way to most cultivators when they break through the golden elixir and yuanying. Going further up is the ultimate level of learning. This level is the true questioning of the immortal gate, such as the ability to instantly move thousands of miles in Zhiqi Tianya, and the ability to pull others into one's own expertise in the 5 elements field in Hifang Tiandi, and so on. For cultivators, this level of divine power is either a killing move or a life-saving escape technique. Only by descending from the heavenly way can one possibly obtain the experience conditions of a life of 9 or death, or it can be obtained in those ancient tombs or mysterious secret realms. The 10 directions to detect spirits that Ning Qing obtained should be at the lower level of the ultimate skill. Its function is also very simple. While enhancing Ning Qing's spiritual sense exploration ability, there is also a core ability of exploring objects and finding people. As long as Ning Qing knows the name of something or someone and obtains a personal item, he can then drive the spiritual energy in his body to detect the specific location of the other person. In short, it is a divine power that is very convenient in all aspects. Finally, there is the immortal method. This level is typical of the type that only exists in legends in the intelligence known to Ning Qing. But it is estimated to be at least at the level of Taoist friends, please stay, and 5-colored divine light. However, Ning Qing couldn't say for sure what level of divine powers that Zhan Ziju and Duo Ziju, in the Carving Heaven illustrated record, he was currently learning. But due to the reward of the heavenly way, the cultivators in this land of Kyushu all have some strange and supernatural powers to a greater or lesser extent. The rewards given by the heavenly way are all hard. Although the cultivators can learn them immediately, they only know how to use them, and it is difficult to decipher the principles and pass them on to others, which is why they are called divine powers. Of course, the rewards of the heavenly way also include mental or martial arts, but most of them are fragmented chapters, so if Jojo cultivators really want a smooth path to immortality, most of them will choose to find a prestigious and righteous sect, or go to the extreme to find a demonic and evil sect to worship. While contemplating these, Ning Qing had already arrived at the logging ground of the fire spirit tree. As the top legitimate sect in Dali, the subordinates of Qingxian sword sect have a total of 6 inner sects and 13 outer sections. This logging field belongs to the sword refining sect, which is one of the 13 major external sections. The disciples of the external sects in the sect are all individuals with certain talents in alchemy and sword forging. However, due to the scorching heat throughout the body, the fire spirit tree cannot withstand this scorching environment for those who have not yet cultivated immortals. Therefore, they can only let the humble and miscellaneous disciples like Ning Qing become lumberjacks. As long as you cultivate to the 4th level of gas refining, you can leave the environment of this ghost black coal mine. Ning Qing raised the axe in her hand and forcefully struck the fire spirit tree in front of her. The minimum entry requirement for various external sects of the Qingxian sword sect is the 4th level of qi refining, but they also need to go through a series of complex assessments. The truly safe entry requirement is the 5th or 6th level of qi refining. But Ning Qing really doesn't want to stay in the environment of this black coal mine for a whole day. But just as Ning Qing was muttering in her heart, she suddenly felt a wave of danger approaching. This immediately caused Ning Qing to stop waving the axe in his hand and turn back to jump backwards. This jump happened to dodge the dark force coming from behind, which directly shattered the surface of the fire spirit tree that Ning Qing had been standing on before, leaving a burnt red palm print on the tree body. "Excuse me, senior brother. What does this mean?" Ning Qing turned around and saw the figure of the person in charge. It was the foreman who had been supervising him before, and the outer disciple of the sword refining sect, whose name seemed to be Luo Yan. "It's nothing, just give our junior brother a try. The progress of our cultivation has been good lately." Luo Yan has a tall stature, although he looks rough and crazy, he doesn't laugh at all rough and crazy. That sinister feeling can be felt by Ning Qing without much emotional intelligence. He walked towards Ning Qing while speaking, wanting to wave his palm and lightly pat her shoulder, as if trying to encourage this young junior brother Ning Qing. Ning Qing can't bear this palm strike. The cultivation level of this external senior brother has reached the 9th level of qi cultivation. Who knows if he will once again use his palm wind to strike him with dark energy. So Ning Qing quickly picked up the firewood bag placed beside her, and the shoulder straps of the backpack were covered in filth and mud. This pile of mud and dirt instantly dissuaded the other party. The palm that Luo Yan raised could only awkwardly pat his thigh. "Now it seems that your cultivation level, junior brother, has reached the 3rd level of qi cultivation, right? Keep working hard and break through the 4th level of qi cultivation as soon as possible. Join us sword crafters and strive to become true fellow disciples with us," Luo Yan said with an encouraging tone. "Thank you very much for your guidance, senior brother." Although Ning Qing lowered her head and answered like this, what she was thinking in her heart was actually that she was still entering your sword refining sect. Who doesn't know that the male to female ratio in the sword refining sect is 1000 to 1? Let's not talk about this for now. The key is that if I didn't beat you all up before I left, it would be my mercy. During the whole year when Ning Qing worked as a labor disciple here, Ning Qing, who was summoned by these guys to work as a laborer, still remembers. I don't know if there will be a chance for revenge in the future. But most likely, it's just a casual thought from Ning Qing. The Qingxian sword sect, a prestigious and upright sect, strictly prohibits private fights among fellow disciples. If you want to fight, you must also go to the arena for comparison. Ning Qing's further idea of chopping these people into small pieces may only be possible for those in the demon sect. Now Ning Qing can only continue to work hard and honestly as a lumberjack. Just when Ning Qing lifts his axe and chops it down on a tree, the people who have formed a bond with each other show subtle affection towards their Taoist friends, giving them a slight boost in strength and bones. Lord, are you watching? Is that how you feel for me? No, it hurts so much. Be a little more heartbroken. Ning Qing suddenly felt a surge of energy all over her body, and even wanted to step forward to touch the outer disciples of the sword refining sect. After being knocked down by them, she cried and shouted, "Senior sister, help me." But this is too embarrassing. Ning Qing should decide when she has the chance to use it again next time. End of this chapter.